Hello, family. Pray all is well with each of you. Praises to the Most High, and to His Son Yeshua, and unto the Ruach, the Holy Spirit. Family, coming on with another video. As you see, the actual subject heading of this news article under Fox News, it says Pope Francis made his big change to the Lord's Prayer. Pope Francis officially approved a change to the most famous prayer in Christianity. It's the prayer Jesus taught followers to pray, and one of the few things that unites 2.2 billion Christians across the globe. But the Holy See's May 22 approval adjusting the Lord's Prayer, widely known among the faithful as Our Father, has been years in the making. So what has actually took place, the part in the prayer that says, lead us not into temptation, he changed it to, don't let us fall into temptation. So what makes this closer to home for me was that probably about 3 months ago, I was praying, and when I got to that particular part of the prayer, which I pray every morning and have been doing so basically every morning since I rededicated my life back to the Almighty, when I got to this particular morning to don't lead us into temptation, the Almighty just stopped me in my tracks there and provide a revelation to me. So when speaking of don't lead us into temptation, meaning that, of course, we got choices, but we don't want to be led to have a reprobated mind, because he can give us a reprobated mind, which would, the things that we sought after when we know better not to do those things. We could actually be led to with that reprobated mind. So I'm just wanting to come on and share this, because this tell me that a lot, along with all that is going on with the world, because I already knew about the 70 AD when they invaded our land, and ones actually were taken or killed, and ones who flee further into Africa. Well, they took our books, they took our scriptures. The Roman Catholics even made a way to decide what books were going to go into, which is called the Holy Bible. And from what, my research and my findings, they wanted to get a heading, like to bring people in. And all what the Old Testament does is the wordings, and what the Almighty has done is had directed towards the Israelites, which people don't want to own up to or want to admit. And as in the New Testament, what's being shown there is that, of course, as you read deeper in and you get to see, far as what the Almighty and how he actually came across his people back in the Old Testament, you get into the New Testament, like, well, wait a minute. But in actuality, family, they had access to our books. We saw where scriptures have been dropped out of the Bible. We've seen where scriptures part has been stayed in, and part of the scriptures have been removed out. We've seen where books have been taken out. And that goes back to the Apocryphers, which is considered hidden books. So let me go a little bit further down here. It says, as you see here, it says the Catholic leader changed the phrase, lead us not into temptation, to do not let us fall into temptation, as mentioned in the Gospel of Matthew 6:13, because the original translation implies that God, which is the Almighty, induces temptation. So they feel as though the Almighty can't bring upon what world may call evil when he brings a wrath or judgment. Oh, the Almighty can't do that. Don't lead us into temptation. Don't lead us into to have a reprobated mind. Don't lead us into be tempted by what's out there, but don't let us fall into temptation. That's what they want it to say. Don't let us fall. Let's pray that he don't, because he's a good, just, the Almighty that will not bring a wrath upon us. And that's a lie. If you've read and you have seen his works and how he operates and how he have been forth through all with the prophets and his, his children of Israel, our forefathers, we'll know that this means what it means. When it said, Yeshua said that according to the prayer, and I'm getting excited right now because it is really sad that we sat and sitting on the sideline and thinking that, oh, just this okay. He just saying, oh, let this, don't fall in temptation. That putting that in there, and he have added, he have changed it. Well, the Romans already had a part to make a change and make a difference. In our books, they have access to the Dead Sea Scrolls this day. They have access to, whereas right now in 2019, he has made a decision to change the Lord's Prayer, which I call the Our Father's Prayer. This should have anyone who sleep to wake up. Should have anyone to feel a way to say, oh my goodness, right before our eyes. He's one of the popes that they're saying that he's not holding back. He's not doing things undercover. He is coming straight in our faces. So he wanting the world to believe that, oh, I did something good. What gives you the right? Because according to, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, according to the 1611 version, as you go there, you'll be able to see where, oh my goodness, when it gets to the 22nd chapter of Revelation, the 18th verse, it tells that, whoever touch, who have add, who have taken away, that the Almighty is going to have plagues, put plagues upon them and also take their name out the book of life. So this is a time right now that we're living in that we need to get close to our Almighty and seek him. And even when it feels like he's not responding and giving us any answers, just wait on him. Because I've been inquiring about a lot of things, because a lot of things have surfaced that if it doesn't add 1 + 1 is 2, I need to know, I need to understand, because I'd rather be, seeking and searching than to get to a time where I can't seek and search. And then you see all that is going on in YouTube, that they're actually taking one's videos and deleting them and removing them for those who say that there might be a conspiracist theory person, or those who might be one that has offended another or come off in a bully type format way or a rude way. So they're removing them. So some of my Hebrew brothers and sisters, or particular brothers, have said, "Oh, my videos have been deleted." So it's going to come a time where we're not going to have access accordingly from what it's shown here. And the point of the matter is, do we know the Almighty for ourselves? Can we connect with him on our own without having anybody else trying to tell us about him? And even if there's not even a Bible for you to connect with, do you know him personally, in the sense of, have you had any personal connections? Have he spoke to you? Have he actually, inform you, instruct you, led you, and guide you? Do you know him? Do you know of him through other people? This is a time for you to get personal with your Creator. And I will do a video about a young brother from the actual YouTube page called Honor and Humility. He did a video some days back about the Most High speaking to you and directing you. And at one point he said, no, that can't be, because the Most High not going to do that. Then he comes to find out that yes, he will. And I have many testimonies that he have led me and direct me and spoke to me and gave me insights. So I'm going to move forward here. I'll leave this link and you can read further. There's nothing much more what they're saying here, other than, this is what he done. And it's on a lot of local different platforms, news outlets that's stating this. And a lot of people are upset about this, and ones who don't get this. First of all, for you to change something that has been considered to be holy, and then you gonna change it because you can. Who make you? But we have to go back to the beginning, 70 AD. And I'm going to show you something about that shortly. So I'm going to come out of this area. Just bear with me one moment. I'm going to go to King James 1611. And now the Catholics, they don't use the King James version for the Catholics. They use their Bible. And I'm going to carry you and show you right here that the Apocrypha, as you see, and it has, what is this? So all these books here that was removed, and I'm going to show you where it says that, and by, and how, and who. So the first Maccabees, the second Maccabees, Baruch, Wisdom of Solomon, Judith, and Tobit is Ecclesiasticus. Also, the Pope in the Catholic lineup, they have those books in their Bible, but they took it out of the King James version. Really? Okay, they did. So you can look that up because I don't have that link to that at this point. So let's go to the Apocrypha. So the Apocrypha is a selection of books which were published originally in 1611, which is the King James Bible. Who all know the history about the King James was actually a black-skinned, dark-skinned man that you have to know why they made him to be as a, say, gay, and that he was a horrible person. Anybody that they do that of is because when you think about it, evidently they weren't for what they were for. They're going to make anyone who is for good, when they want to do bad and evil, they're going to try to make them look bad and evil, but then they try to make themselves look like they're good. So go and read the history up on King James, and you'll get the full thrust of this, because they don't even promote King James Version, but the King James Version happened to be a popular book, as we can tell, as a lot of my Hebrew brothers and sisters has. It has here the Apocrypha books were positioned between the Old and New Testament, and it also contained maps and genealogies. And it says here the Apocrypha was a part of the King James Version for 274 years until being removed in 1885 AD. It was removed, you all. And then, as far as, it says here also that many claim that the Apocrypha should never been included in the first place. But the Pope, the Catholics have at least 8 of it in their Bible, raising about doubt in validity, and believing it was not God inspired. For instance, in reference about the magic seems inconsistent with the rest of the Bible. So Tobit, chapter 6, verse 5-8. Now others believe is a valid, that it should never been removed, that it was considered part of the Bible for nearly 2,000 years, before it was recently removed a little more than 100 years ago. Some said it was removed because of not finding the book of the original Hebrew manuscripts. Others claim it wasn't removed by the church, but by printers to cut costs in distributing Bibles in the U.S. Really? Okay. So regardless, it was done. Both sides tend to cite the same verses that warn against adding or subtracting from the Bible, which in Revelation 22:18, which I just said earlier. Whoever would, add or remove, the Almighty going to deal with them. Then it says the word apocrypha means hidden. Fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls dating back to before 70 AD contains parts of the apocrypha books in Hebrew, including Sirach and Tobit. So you all just know we are in a moment, as we've seen right in our faces, that they are actually taking part of the scriptures. Just like China is looking to add Buddhism to the Bible, to make it like a socialist Bible. Right now, let's say in the next 5 years or maybe less, it'll be available. So if the Almighty allows us to live another 100 years or 50 years, imagine some people will die off and ones will be born, and then they will come into, like, this book has always been here. So that's why it's good in a sense that we are out making videos about this and talking about it. So it's to keep in mind when reading the following apocrypha books. Martin Luther said apocrypha, that is, books which are not regarded as equal to the Holy Scriptures and yet are profitable and good to read. So that's what they're saying. But we know our Hebrew brothers and sisters have been in these books. The first Maccabee, second Ezra's, second 1 and 2, and also I think it's 4 Ezra's. So, and we can go on and on and on. And they can say whatever they want to say. And those books, like we see this for 1 and 2, but there's 2 more besides this in Ezra's. And then I think it's more than one Baruch too. Baruch. I said Baruch. Baruch. I think it's more than one of those two. So at the end of the day, when we have found it to whereas it actually complete, or it's precepts that we can use, because when you read in the Bible, because I've read from Genesis all the way to the First Corinthians, and trust me, I know when I've came across precepts. I know when things that make sense that I've read, and you're like, wait a minute, this is the same what the Almighty was saying here. This is the same type of verse that goes with this verse. It's amazing. And there are people today, just like I was, don't even think to say, oh my goodness, is the Bible like a storyline? Yes, it is. You read it from Genesis all the way through. And there are times that you could get 5 books up and it refer you back or say something that was in, 3 books back or 3 chapters back. So that's why we got to study to show ourselves approved and get into this truth. So again, I just want to bring this forward to you all, let you know that what's happening, and I will come on and make another video of speaking of what my Hebrew brother was saying about, seeking the Almighty and allowing Him to lead and guide you and listen out for His voice, because in the days when we don't have no access to TV, radio, phones, laptops, or anything, we need to know our Father's voice. That's right. So family, thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. Shabbat Shalom to you all. If I don't come back on this day, I will see you in the next video. Blessings, family.